Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Today's guest is the bold and beautiful Sheri Broussard, author of She Rises High, a deeply honest and empowering book about reclaiming your voice, setting boundaries, and rising from the ashes of heartbreak. After navigating a painful divorce and a lifetime of pleasing people or people pleasing, whichever you want to call it, Sheri chose to write her story, and now she is helping other women do the same. Her words feel like a hug in the wake of a call. Get ready for truth, healing, and a whole lot of rising. So, welcome to the show, Sheri. And for those of you who have been avid listeners of the show, of course, you'll recognize Sheri as friend of the show, someone who has been here before. And I'm going to link also her original episode so that you can get to know her and absorb everything wonderful that Sheri has to offer. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see you now. You don't hold back in this book. What was the moment that you knew you had to tell a story?
So it was about a month after my marriage fell apart. About a
Mm.
month after my marriage fell apart, and I found myself on the floor in a heap, just wailing like I have
Mm-hmm.
never experienced before.
Mm.
I had moved out of my house and in with my parents,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just curled up in a ball on the floor of their spare bedroom.
Yeah.
And someone came to me that day and just kind of whispered in my ear, like, no,
Yeah.
girl, this is not how this is going to end for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just knew in my heart that day that I had something that I needed to share. And it was
Mm-hmm.
the catalyst that propelled me into really doing some dark, heavy, deep work on myself.
Oh,
And here I am to share that story.
yeah. Dark, heavy work sometimes, excuse me, is something that we fear, right? Because we know that it's going to cause a lot of havoc, and we're going to move from the comfort zone to the unknown in many places.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about what that work was like.
Well, I think that, for me personally, I had done years and years and years of stuffing things in a box and just putting the
Mm,
lid on it because it's so painful and so hard to open that box and actually look at your own stuff.
yeah,
We
yeah,
spend a lot of time pointing the fingers, and if this person wouldn't have done that or said that, I
yeah.
wouldn't, whatever. And the reality is, we have to own our own stuff.
Yeah.
And until you take that lid off and start taking things out one by one and
Hmm.
dissecting who you are and why you operate the way you do, what you tolerate, and all of those things,
Yeah.
that's where the true healing
Hmm.
happens when you
Yeah.
look at your own stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that looking at our own stuff, right, is the thing that sometimes brings up a lot of, I would say, shame. Did you
Mm.
ever feel that as well? Or
Oh
is that
yeah.
something that, okay. So
Yeah,
tell me more about that.
a big part of my existence rode
Hmm.
on guilt and shame. I was
Hmm.
a pregnant teenager at
Mm.
17 years
Yep.
old in the midst of conservative Christianity,
Yep.
and that is a heavy, heavy load of shame and guilt to
Hmm.
carry. And I did for the majority of my life, which turned me
Yeah.
into an utter people pleaser because I was constantly trying
Yeah.
to cover the guilt, cover the shame, make everyone
Hmm.
happy, make sure everyone was good so that I
Yeah.
could feel better about myself. And until I dealt with
Wow.
the guilt and shame that I carried and wore
Hmm.
like a heavy coat,
Yeah.
I couldn't be free. I couldn't.
Mm. What does free mean like to you?
I think free for me means truly being able to be who I am without
Hmm.
apology,
Yeah.
without I am this, but or I act this way
Hmm.
because, and there's no buts, there's no becauses. It's just this is who I am, and I don't
Mhm.
apologize for any of it. I don't apologize for my past,
Yeah.
things that I've done, what has happened to me. There's no apology or shame. That to me
Mm.
is freedom.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that happened to me or for me or when I wrote my book, which is again a personal story or a combination of personal stories,
Mm.
I got some pushback,
Mm.
specifically from people that um, are in my life.
Mm.
And, I think that even before I wrote the book, there was a lot of hesitant thoughts that many people that I care about and care for me, right, gave me their little 2 cents. And I always like to ask listeners or authors rather that visit the show, did they experience anything like that? And how do they navigate it? Because I know that listeners, many of them are in the process of writing a book. And I'd love to share a little bit of the wisdom that maybe you
Mm.
have gained from that experience.
Yeah, writing this book was a very therapeutic journey for sure. And of course, there's places where I treaded carefully, not
Mm-hmm.
because I'm ashamed of the story or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
because my story intertwines very deeply with, my ex's
Right.
stories
Right.
and my parents' stories and my
Mm-hmm.
children's stories.
Right. Right.
And their story is not mine to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Only
Right.
my story is mine to tell. So there were
Mm-hmm.
a few places that I treaded carefully. However, I did not hold back on the truth.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I very much told my story
Mm-hmm.
100%. And
Mm.
I think the repercussions or whatever that triggers in the person who's reading
Mm-hmm.
it,
Right.
maybe that's a good thing and that's
Yeah.
their story to start excavating. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think we share our story truthfully, and however it hits, it's not really our responsibility.
Yeah, I think
I
that
don't
that's
think
exactly what
anybody
I
should be
learned.
thrown under the
Yeah.
bus by
Yeah.
any means,
Sure, sure.
which
And
is,
here's the thing. I don't view it as throwing people under the bus. I think that, like you said, it's your story, right? And then we tend to then say, oh, this is good, this is bad, and make the categories.
yeah.
But I think that if we're just speaking from a place of truth
Mhm.
and stating facts, then it really is something that is definitely revolutionary for us when it
Yeah.
comes to self-love.
I had a friend, because when I was writing the book, a lot of what was overwhelming me at times was, is my book going to be good enough? Is it going to be good?
Mhm.
And she said to me when I'm writing, not to focus on if the book is good, but to
Mhm.
focus on if the book is true. My only
Yeah, yeah.
responsibility is to tell the truth of my story.
Yeah.
And whether it's good or helpful or people like it or people
Hmm.
don't, that's completely irrelevant. Is my
Yeah.
story true? And I
Yeah.
can honestly say that this is true. And I use this book still constantly. The concepts in this book I'm
Hmm.
still referring back to.
Yeah.
And it's a helpful little book.
It is. And and again, I think that I will tell you, I like you also refer back to my book. I
Mhm.
had a very interesting situation in the past week, and I it reminded me of something that I wrote about in the book. And
Mhm.
I went to go over the chapter, and I decided to read it and create a solo episode reading this chapter and kind of unpacking what had happened. And by the time I was done reading my chapter, I thought, oh my God, this was so helpful.
Right?
And I thought, if it's helping me, I really do hope that someone that is going through that, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that may be for them, right? That
Yeah.
they do find kind of that aha or that lesson that maybe we learned that somehow, we haven't used in a while. And
Yeah.
then we need to kind of put it back into rotation because
Yeah, for
it does
sure.
help. So I love that's the same thing for you, Sheri. That's so good.
Yeah, and I want to I want to live my book because I feel like you can't really go
Hmm.
out there and talk about it and speak about it and try
Yeah.
and help people
Hmm.
if you're not doing it.
A hundred
So,
percent. Yeah, 100%.
sometimes I'll catch myself and be like, "Ooh, I need to go read the boundaries chapter. That feels like my boundaries are getting a little slippery. I better go
I know. I
double
know.
check, make sure I'm living it."
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And I think that for many of us, right, living it doesn't mean that we have it together. It just means that we continue to learn, we continue to evolve, and then we continue to somehow, really get ingrained into those lessons. And
Yeah.
that's all that we can definitely hope as humans. You said something in at the beginning of the book, and you gave instructions. You said how to read this book. A
Mhm.
spoiler, not like a regular book.
Mhm.
What should people know about that?
I think when people read somebody's story, a lot of times
Hmm.
we get really caught up in the juicy details, like,
Hmm.
"Ooh, I want to know what happened to her," and so you just start sort of devouring the book because you're so
Hmm.
interested in the story. And although this is that, the
Hmm.
purpose of this book is not so that you are caught up on the juicy details of my story.
Hmm. Yeah.
The purpose
Yeah.
of this book is to get you to look at your own story and to identify with some of the feelings um, and the situation that I found myself in, and try to
Hmm.
connect with my story with your own. And then
Hmm.
my book, every chapter ends with just thought-provoking questions
Hmm.
that really get you to think about your own life.
Yeah.
And then after the questions, there's a short 5-minute meditation
Hmm.
that you can actually go to my website and listen to me read to you
Mm.
the meditation. And
Yeah.
so I feel like my book is different in that it's an action
Hmm.
book. It
Yeah.
should be read one chapter at a time,
Hmm.
read through the questions, and then listen to the meditation and let the
Yeah.
concept really soak in and
Hmm.
get you to think and not rush into the next chapter. It looks like a tiny little book, but it's 12 chapters.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty robust, Sheri.
yeah, there's a
And
lot in here.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, in looking at the book, and I was fortunate enough, right, to connect with you and to be cheering you on in this journey. Um, you talk about so many things that I know I related to. But the people pleasing I have seen with many of my clients, right? That is, it's a common thing for many women in staying too long in a relationship that doesn't serve you and it's not right, or not just right, but there's so many underlying things that are unhealthy. And I know that for me, I was one of these people, not a people pleaser, but definitely staying longer than I should have. What helped you finally say enough?
Well, so I've been divorced twice. I've been
Hmm.
married
Yeah.
twice, which for me was always such a hard thing to say because I come,
Hmm.
like I said, from a very conservative Christian background.
Yeah.
And there's only two legitimate reasons to be divorced,
Hmm.
uh, infidelity or
Yeah.
death. And other
Yeah.
than that, you don't have a reason to leave. You
Hmm.
need to
Hmm.
stay and you need to work it out and you
Yeah.
need to try harder and all of those things. And while I do fully support giving your all to
Hmm.
every relationship that you're in, there comes
Yeah.
a time where you have to draw the line and say this is
Yeah.
not working anymore.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me in my first divorce.
Hmm.
I felt like I was an actress on a stage. I had been married since I was 17 years old.
It's a long time.
I raised three babies. I stayed for 25 years and I gave everything, a lot
Mm.
because of the guilt and shame that I carried. I didn't feel like I was worthy of a better life. I felt like I
Mm.
hadn't paid enough
Yeah.
debt to pay off my
Hmm.
sin. And there just came a time after so much trying and so much struggling,
Hmm.
I did not recognize myself. I did not know who I was. And I felt like I just took the costume off. I dropped the mic and I
Hmm.
stepped off stage. I was like, I
Wow.
can't perform for one more day. I just
Hmm.
can't do it. And so I left a
Yeah.
25-year relationship. And
Mm.
that was the point that I should have. if we're going to
Hmm.
should things,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
should have done work on myself. And I
Hmm.
didn't. I didn't do any work on myself. I just was in search of the next husband to take care
Yeah.
of me. And within a
Yeah.
year, I was married again
Hmm.
to someone who had just as many issues as I did. And we were a hot mess. And
Hmm.
after 7 years, he decided he was done and he ended the relationship in a very traumatic and unkind way.
Hmm.
And it left me in a heap. And I
Yeah.
had two choices: either stay on the floor like that, live a
Hmm.
victim mentality for the rest of my
Hmm.
life,
Yeah.
or open that box and start to dig through that stuff one little piece
Mm.
at a time. And that's what I did. I didn't see any other choice.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that, it again, sometimes life takes away the choices because we need to follow the path that we are dreading the most.
Hmm.
And have you seen that? I know that you teach yoga, you are a speaker, and you are around a lot of interesting individuals and women that you're mentoring. Tell me more. What have you noticed? Is there a lot of parallels in some of the women that you work with?
Yeah, I think the thing that I see the most, which was also what kind of kept pushing me toward writing this book, is, and I was one of them. I
Hmm.
see so many women who something happens in your life that's terrible, usually triggered by no choice of your own. It's something
Hmm.
that happened to you by someone else's choices. And then it's just this victim mentality, this
Hmm.
bitterness, this anger, this, oh, this thing happened to me. So now the rest of my life I'm labeled as,
Hmm.
this.
Yeah.
And that is a choice that we make to
Hmm.
choose to stay in victim mentality.
Yeah.
And it robs you of everything, of your joy, of your peace, of your identity. You become the victim.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
like I had to choose, you
Yeah.
get to choose to step away from that and not be the victim. You can be the victor in a story that wasn't written for you. You get to change all that. You get to hold the
Right.
pen and you can drive your life in a completely different direction.
Hmm.
So I don't speak about the things that happened to me anymore in a way that
Yeah.
leaves me as a victim. I am not. I got to choose
Hmm.
what happened to me next.
Yeah.
And
The
so do
master
you.
of the master of your own destiny,
Yeah.
which I love. And She Rises High, which is the name of the book again, isn't just a story, Sheri. It really is a guide. And how did
Mhm.
you balance being vulnerable and being a mentor to others on the pages of the book?
I've always been well, I can't say always, but I'm pretty much an open book. Like if you know me at all, you know a lot about my life.
Hmm.
And when all of this, when I was going through all of this stuff that you'll read about in the book,
Hmm.
I started just journaling, writing things down to get it out. And slowly I started sharing things on social media. I started, just being really
Hmm.
honest about what I was
Hmm.
going through. And every time I would write a post, the comments that I would get or the personal
Hmm.
DMs that I would get were just very, oh my gosh, me too. And I'm going through that. And I
Yeah.
related to what you were saying. And it just step by step started to become a book. These journal entries, the concepts that I was
Hmm.
talking about, and I started watching and reflecting on the things that I was doing. What are the action steps I'm doing to get
Hmm.
myself out of this hole?
Yeah.
And that's how it became a book and a
Mm.
guide.
Yeah. Yeah. You talk about, and I know that you are a woman of faith, Sheri, and you obviously, like many of us who feel deeply and live in a faith environment, have learned to recognize the voice of God. In your book, you were in this deepest part of despair and just moaning and crying over the circumstances of the end of your second marriage.
Mhm.
And you talk about a voice cutting through everything. And it said, no, it's not going to end like this. And you knew, you had heard the voice of God many times as you speak about it in your book, but what you heard was something different.
Mhm.
What was that?
Well, I don't want to give away too much of
Don't give away too much,
the
but yeah.
surprise ending of who that was, but I think that God can you or universe, whatever you call
hmm
it, can use voices, can use people, can use memories
hmm
to sort of wake us up. And
Mm,
there was a tie-in that I share at the end of my book. There was a
hmm
tie-in with that voice and a discovery that I had 2 years later, that
hmm
when that discovery happened to me, I was like,
hmm
that is what spoke to me that day on
hmm
the floor.
Yeah.
And it was a trigger for me and something that I remember to this day when I think that I can't do something or when I'm
hmm
struggling with something. The no, it's not going to end like this is basically to me permission. It's
hmm
permission for me to do something different. I can
Yeah.
either stay here on the floor or I can listen to that voice in my head and say, no, this can end differently.
hmm Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's so good. I want to encourage the listeners to kind of this is a great reason you're going to love this book because of the tie-in at the at the end of the book and again so beautifully written. You talk about habits in this book, which again habits of health and these are really crucial and integral not only when things are going well, but when life is lifing.
yeah.
Tell me more about your habits.
So I think that the basis of this whole entire book stands on how do you take care of yourself?
hmm Yeah.
And a lot of times when we start talking about health, immediately we go
hmm
to, oh, I need to
Yeah.
eat a certain way and I need to exercise every day so I can
hmm
look a certain way.
Right. Right.
And honestly, it has nothing to do with that. It really has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. That comes from vanity and it comes from society saying
hmm
that we're supposed to look a certain way and fit into this little box. And that's not
hmm
this.
hmm Yeah.
Do I
Uh,
talk about eating healthy? Absolutely. And do I
of
talk about moving
course.
your body? Of course I do. But for the
hmm
purpose of, we are all going to hit bumps in life.
hmm
So
Yeah.
if you haven't had a crisis in your life yet, it's coming for you because that is
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I have a firm belief that if we are taking care of our bodies, eating well, moving,
hmm
exercising, taking care of your mind, watching, thinking, reading things that are good for your mind, when crisis hits, you are going to handle it so much better
Yeah.
than if you're not taking care of your vessel. It's
hmm
science.
It's
And
science. Absolutely.
when this second crisis with my marriage hit, I was in a very healthy place in my life. I had been
hmm
taking care of my body, eating well. I was very healthy. And I believe that that's part of why when I was down on the floor, my body was crying for, please get up and eat. Please fuel your body like you were doing, because I was
Yeah.
basically starving myself,
hmm hmm
which is just as unhealthy as eating a bunch of crap.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that
And
there's that spectrum that, people can
yeah,
fall on. Yeah.
and my body was used to every morning we get up, we work out, we go for a
hmm
walk. There was movement, and I was just laying around. And my
mm
body was begging me, please, please do what we do. And
hmm
when I got back into my routine, that's part of what helped me start, because you're going to have to do a lot of hard stuff,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of
Definitely.
hard stuff, and you're going
Yeah.
to need a healthy body to do it. So
Mm, yeah.
that's why I start with you got to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
because whatever you're doing when you're not in crisis is what you're going to do in crisis.
In
So
crisis.
if
Absolutely.
if you're sitting on the couch eating Doritos, that's what you're going to do when
That's
life
what
is
you're gonna
crazy.
do.
And there's
Yeah.
no judging because I love me some Doritos, but
Nothing wrong with a bag of Doritos here
if
and there,
that's what
but yeah.
your diet consists of, which we
Mhm.
all know that no matter how good Doritos taste, they are not healthy food. So
Well,
you're
and
gonna
yeah, no, go ahead.
you're not gonna start new habits in the midst
Mhm.
of the crazy. It's
Yeah.
just not reality.
No, and not at all, and I think that one of the things that you being a yoga teacher as well, and know this, right? How we show up in one area of life and how we show up in our mat is how we show up in other areas of life. And for
100%.
many of us, the Doritos or maybe the overworking out or the not eating, these are behaviors that are trying to buffer us
Hmm.
from the actual emotions that we can be feeling or we
Yes.
should be processing through, right?
Hmm.
And we don't want to feel the emotions, we don't want to think about it, and that's what ends up at times really tripping us up.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. You can go the opposite way.
Yeah.
You can be sitting on the couch all day long, not moving your body, which is unhealthy, or
Hmm.
you could be running 20 miles a day.
20
And
miles a day. Yeah.
either way,
Yeah.
you're destroying your body,
Hmm.
and it's not healthy.
Yeah. So speaking of habits and speaking about rituals and practices, what is a practice or a ritual that anchored you when you were in the thick of healing?
Mm. I talk about this in the book too, and it's a hard one.
Hmm.
But I did it every single day. I still do it. When I start to feel insecure, when I start to doubt my abilities,
Hmm.
I deal a lot right now with imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
Writing your first book and
Yeah.
trying to get yourself on stage for some of the very first times, a lot of imposter syndrome takes over.
Yep.
And so when I start to feel that way, I take off every single article of clothing
Hmm.
and I stand butt naked right in front of the mirror and we have a conversation
Yeah.
because I get very distracted, just like everybody else,
Oh, yeah,
about
for sure.
what my body looks like and
Hmm.
all the things and what I'm able
Yeah.
to do and what I'm not able to do. And I just stand there naked and we have a conversation. And I say, listen, girl, you've gone through some hard stuff.
Hmm.
You are a strong woman, and it has nothing to do with what you look like. It's who you
Mm.
are on the inside. And we just
Powerful.
have a conversation, and
Yeah.
it literally changes the trajectory of what I'm trying to do. And that
Yeah.
stuff gets out for a time. It comes back because I'm
Of
human.
course, you're human. Yeah.
But there's something very vulnerable about being completely naked. And
Hmm.
there's a whole section in the book about this and where it
Yep.
came from and why I do it. But it's very powerful and no one wants to do it, especially women, especially if you've got these, what we deem imperfections. And
Hmm.
to stand in front of yourself and speak encouraging words. There's no judging. We don't talk about
Hmm.
roles. We don't talk about the cellulite, none of that.
No, no.
It's empowerment and it's
Hmm.
I encourage anybody to try it because it's
Yeah.
not easy to do, but man, it's powerful.
It is powerful. It is a practice that, and even looking into your eyes
Hmm.
and speaking, and a lot of times we take for granted what we really are saying to ourselves many times because we don't pay attention, but that's a
Yeah.
really great exercise. I
Yeah.
love that. Midlife, and again, many of the women that listen to the podcast are these midlife warriors.
Hmm.
And it can be a period of shedding, leaving behind, a rebirth. What advice do you have for the women in this season who are feeling lost?
It what I want to say is pick you first.
Mm, yeah.
Pick you first.
Hmm.
And we all know as moms, as wives, as partners, daughters, that is such a hard concept. And it
Hmm.
feels so selfish to say, I'm going to pick me first.
Yeah.
I have babies. How do I do that?
Mm, yeah.
It's hard. I'm not saying this is easy, but it is vital to all of this. There are going to be times where you're going to have to say, I'm picking me first. And you're going to
Hmm.
feel mean. It's going to feel selfish. It's going to feel like you're neglecting. And you have to ride through that. You have
Hmm.
to fight through all of that all of those feelings because choosing yourself
Hmm.
first,
Yeah.
it's the road to healing. There's been
Yeah.
many times where I've said, no, I can't do
Hmm.
that for you, my
Hmm.
darling daughter child, whom I love so much. I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
do it for you because
Yeah.
I need to do this for me.
Hmm.
And some people are going to get it. I've been very fortunate. My
Hmm.
family, my kids, all of them
Yeah.
have been nothing but understanding in me choosing me first, which is
Hmm.
a switch because my kids know that I
Yeah.
picked them first. And so,
Yeah, it's hard for many women, right, to kind of make that
mhm,
shift, but it's necessary because
yeah,
I know that it's the lesson that others need to see, and we need to model that for others coming behind
yeah.
us in this journey. Um, I want to do a quick lightning round because again, I could probably talk to you all day. You know, you're one of these people that when I hear from you, I'm like, yay, let's talk to Sheri.
Sweet.
It's
Thank you
been
so
always so
much.
fun. But in your healing journey, if it had a soundtrack, Sheri, what song would definitely be the soundtrack of your healing journey?
Oh gosh, without a doubt, Miley Cyrus, The Climb. That
Oh, that's a
that
good one.
That
Yeah.
song is my anthem.
Mm,
I would play it over and over and over and over every
yeah.
morning when I'd go for a walk. I would cry and cry and
Hmm.
cry just listening to Miley talk about the climb over and over again. And it still gets me to this day.
Oh, it's a great song, and
The
you
anthem
know,
is good.
it's there in one of it. I think it's in my in one of my shavasanas, and even though
Yeah.
I you know most of my music for shavasana is not what people would think, that
That's a
just is
great one. I
the
should try that in class.
yeah. You know what other one I have in my shavasana playlist is "Fix You" by
Oh, that's a good
Coldplay.
one
Good
too.
one, yeah, for sure. What's a message you'd whisper to the version of yourself that hadn't started that healing yet?
Mm. I think the message to her would be um, I got, well, I don't know how to tell you the short version, but what is for me will find me.
Hmm.
What is for me will find me. I got so caught up in trying to make the right move and what am
Mm,
I supposed to be doing and how do I find,
hmm.
blah, 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 blah. And I
Yeah.
believe that what you're supposed to be doing is already out there
Mm,
and you
yeah.
just have to be open so that it can find you. What is
Amazing.
for me will find me.
Amazing, amazing. So as we wrap up, you know, again, I don't want to give too much away. I do want to give away a book. So I would love it if the listeners that have spent some time with us today, if you send me a DM on Instagram and you say, I loved Sheri. I'm going to send them a copy of your book, Sheri, because I think that we need to get the word out there. And you're doing some incredible, amazing mentoring and just sharing your experiences with the world. Now, what's next for you, and how can we support you in your rise?
So I am looking to further helping women because that's the
Hmm.
whole purpose of this book and why
Yeah.
I'm doing any of this is to help people who were
Hmm.
stuck like I was find
Hmm.
their way out of the mud. And I am trying to find and step into the speaking world.
Hmm.
I want to speak to groups of women, whether that's retreats or conferences or
Hmm.
workshops, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just really tricky trying to find places to do that when I don't
Hmm.
have a lot of experience speaking. I have a
Yeah.
handful of places that I've spoken at, but I don't have a lot of experience. And so
Well,
I
you're
just need people
eloquent.
to
Yeah.
give me a chance to show that
Well,
I
you are
do know how to
amazing.
do this. I feel so in my element when I
Hmm.
am sharing in front of women. It
Yeah.
just opens my heart. I feel like it's just what I'm meant to do. And so
Hmm.
I would love to be invited to come and share my story and speak. That's what I would
Well,
love.
I would love for people to invite you. I would love for people to get to know you because you are a kind, strong spirit and an influence that we can all use more of in our lives. And if you want to come to my retreat in
Yeah.
November, you can. you
I
can
would love
come and
to.
speak,
I would love to. That'd
Yeah,
be
I'll give you an
wonderful,
hour.
Sherry.
Let's do it. More than an hour, and you can hang out with the women here. So it'll be fun. Thank you so much for being here, Sherry. I'm going to have the information for the in the show notes for everything Sherry, including her website, but also the She Rises High: A Journey Through the Mud to Find Your Strength, Power, and Voice, which is her book, her debut. I am sure there might be others coming down the pipe. And like I said, if you send me a DM on Instagram, LinkedIn, or even Facebook, and you said, I love Sherry, I will share a copy of the book with you because she shares these wonderful meditations that are on her website. But get the book first, my friends, because it's sort of a thing that goes hand in hand. And I love that she was here, and I love for you to connect. And more importantly, share this episode because I know that we all know someone that may be in that mud, in the thick of things, and someone like Sherry can be the voice that they need to hear. Sherry, come back soon.
Thank you so much, Julie. I always love sharing with you and appreciate your love and support that you have for me. You are
Always.
truly a gift. Thank you so
Always,
much.
you are a family member here at Casa de Confidence. So
Thank
don't
you.
forget, my friends, like Sherry, make sure that you are going confidently in the direction of your dreams. Until next time.